welcome everybody back to our new segment of coaching where, we have just created this new hashtag coach up, and so today we are already in episode 2. In the first episode, we actually introduced to you the coaches that will be part of this segment, which one is Derek, one is Irene. And we have heard their story and how they became coaches. You have heard that the essentialness of what called them to be coaches. But now today we will start with a new topic. We'll start to actually dive a little bit more into coaching areas, or even topics about coaching, topics about, it's so important, essential in our own personal identity and knowing ourselves. So today we have a great episode for you. Our topic for today, really comes from something that is pretty much on our hearts, and as we kind of like spoke about it with them, what is something that we really need to know essentially, as a person first, and I think we kind of came up together, and today's topic is the human condition to know and to be known. So before we go into the topic, let's just welcome back our coaches to this conversation. So welcome back, Derek and Irene. Thank you so much for being here today, and let's just dive into this whole segment of what we have today. And each one of you out there, our listeners, have been part of this whole process. I shared with you earlier that you can be part of this process by asking questions, asking us the things, and which we have done on social media, on Instagram, on Facebook. We have posted up certain quotes, and to hear what you all think, the questions that you have for it. And so today, as we start our thing, let me just bring up certain quotes that was posted up, earlier within the week. And so the first quote that we posted up was from John October, and it says, "You can only love and be loved to the extent that you know and are known by somebody." And our second quote is, "To be truly seen and heard, to be truly known is a deep human need. Our hunger for it is so omnipresent, so much a part of our life experience that we no more know what is missing than fish know that is wet." So before we dive into the questions that each one of you ask, let's just talk about these quotes. Our dear coaches, what does this resound in you? As we all talk about it, what is it personally, something that you kind of like, capture and it's like, oh, this is the essence of it. So I open the floor to any one of you. You can just jump in here. Yeah.
Irene, would you like to go for it?
Sure. After becoming a mother, I come to believe that the purest form of being a human, can be observed through a child. And that is so true after we conceive our daughter. It's from the beginning itself, from the time she was in the womb, we can know that. I'm pretty sure Justin remember this when I was back in the mission. I'm always like out there, "Oh, can you see me? Can you see me?" That kind of thing. Yeah. And that's exactly what my daughter has done. We've done a scan at, I think there was 8 weeks when she was in the womb. My gynecologist at first was like quite nervous if we can see anything at all. But it turned out my daughter was so active, and we know that, wow, this child don't want to stop moving. And she really wants us to know that, "No, here, mommy, daddy, I am here. I am here, right here. Yeah, I want to get to know you. I am learning about my environment." And that's exactly what she did in the womb. She knows my heartbeat because that's very intimate to her. She knows my voice. She knows my husband's voice as well. And we used to do this as a routine when when we are falling asleep. My husband will come and touch on the belly and say, "Hello, baby. Good night. We want to say good night to you." And she will always respond with a thump. You feel that. And that's such an amazement that we see. And once she was born, it's the same thing, and things just accelerated. It becomes more and more obvious. She wants to be known. When she has a need, she'll cry, she will communicate, Mama, I need you here. And the moment I put her on my chest, she hears my heartbeat, something that's familiar to her. It calms her down. And she just fell asleep in my chest, very much like with the movement, with the kind of soothing that she needs, and she comes down. It's very apparent this forms a kind of healthy, secure attachment between my child and me. And what becomes even more interesting is that when at a very young age, she has shown signs of resilience, signs of courage. She is a friendly, a courageous, a adventurous little girl. Whenever people met her, they were very amazed. Oh, she can just come to us. Like, she's just not afraid of anything. What did you do? I was like, just being a mom and just looking at her and observing her. And what I reflected upon, like the child is like that, and that gives her that confidence that she has. And I reflected upon it. Isn't that so true for us as adults as well? Those kind of need to know and to be known doesn't end as a child. It goes on all our life. Yeah, and we see that in my coaching practice. I've seen that the cry, I have this thing in my heart that I just want to share out. I just need somebody to reflect that to me. And what does that create to the clients? I see that they're more confident. They come to hear themselves once they talk, and somebody reflected back to them, gives them the confidence. Yeah, this is who I am. This is what I want to do, and this is how I want to move forward. It's just amazing.
Thanks, Irene. Something very natural that we are talking about, something natural that we are moving back to, is this whole idea of being known and making ourselves, knowing ourselves and making ourselves known. I was thinking about the whole idea of healing. So the healing process is to come home to your most natural space. And this started when we were very young, that this is our whole idea of living, is to be known. However, as we get older, I think the process becomes a little bit more, what's the word I'd use? Not complicated, but it becomes a little bit more abstract than just a way a child would know itself. But then it becomes something that is more profound, that we find words, that we find ways of naming who we are. And that's very, very important, because knowledge of selves grows. The older we are, the more profound, the more, in a way, abstract, but deeper, because we know words, we know concepts, and that's how we come into this whole thing of coming to know ourselves. And being able to articulate that knowledge is very, very powerful. So I hear that there is a starting point. The starting point of wanting to be known by others is first the courage and the love and the acceptance that we give to knowing who we are. So that's our starting point always. So it's really great. And I like this word that is being used here by Charles, and that is to truly know ourselves, to truly be seen and be heard. Because very often this is not there. We want to be known as if we were. And I know for myself, when I live like this with my friends, I live like this in groups of people like my families, my co-workers. When I live as if I wanted to be seen in one way or another, it's always not good enough. Some of my greatest breakthroughs would be friends of mine who allow me to be exactly who I am, in my creativity, in my awesomeness, as well as at that time when I felt I wasn't doing really well, my pain, my brokenness, that I was able to share all this this is where healing really comes. My counselor did an awesome work with me when he allowed me to talk about my deepest longing, who I truly am, how I see myself, and I'm able to articulate that together with all my brokenness that was holding me back, that didn't allow me to live who I was or who I am. And being able to talk about these things was the greatest healing. So I'm very much with this idea that being known and to be known is one of the most natural state of how we are created to be, because when we are there, we usually feel very, very powerful, that we are now in this position to be able to give, to be able to love. And that's why we want to go there.
Wow, Derek, that reminded me something about my own experience when you talk about that, the healing experience. I remember I was really broken at one point, really, really broken. I didn't know who to turn to. And I just went to this priest and say, okay, Father, I'm just coming here to attend Mass with you, and can you spare me a few minutes? And he said, I'm going for a blood donation. If you're okay, we can walk while I go to my car, and then you share. I say, fine. I needed to be known. I really needed to share stuff. And I remember feeling so burdened at the time and sharing everything just in my true self, that would be what I call somewhat my worst self. I was very broken. And he just listened and say, I hear you, I hear you, I hear you. That's all he said. And I'm praying for you. And I encourage you to do certain things. He gave me some exercise to do afterwards. And then a few months later, when I saw him again, say, wow, you are such a transformed person. So such a power there. Now that I thought about it and I'm tearing now. Yeah, thank you.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thanks, Irene. Yeah, I'd like to add, is that okay, Justin?
Yeah, sure, go.
Yeah, very often when we think about what is truly who I am, we think like, was there a bad side of who I am, or was there a good side of who I am? So which is the true? Are we shapeshifter? Sometimes we're good and sometimes we're bad. Well, I'd like to say our truest self is always beautiful. Our truest self is always powerful, loving. We're a gift to the people around us. However, very often this gift is covered. And acknowledging that something has covered this gift is as powerful as acknowledging that deep inside I'm still good, because the journey is that sometimes we are blocked by some of the lies, some of the things that I really don't want to see that exist in my life, but they do exist. Sometimes you would just want to cover that up and think like, oh, if I just focus on what I think is positive and what I think is great, and that will be enough. But that's not quite the human journey. So the human journey of being true to oneself is always to acknowledge, on my way of finding the treasure, I have blockages, I have lies that are seeping through the cracks, and acknowledging that is part of my true journey. And that's why the pain we want to make known, the broken parts we also want to make known, but they are not entirely my truest self. It is declaring that my truest self has been blocked, my truest self has been covered, and now I'm sharing what is covering that. And the beauty is that when I make myself known in this way, then I'm seeing, oh, the beauty is still there. The beauty still wants to come out. And that's why we're celebrating, because we are able to talk about the things that aren't so pleasant in our lives sometimes.
Yes.
Yeah, I think I truly agree with you. I think actually you're talking about it, like this quote that I really love. Actually, it comes from a saint, and it says to be who God meant you to be, and you will set the world on fire. It's Catherine Siena. And I think we all talk about it because we have an interaction with faith. element. But we walk and do a lot of coaching, and even for me and everyone of us. And I think one of the experience I kind of also experienced when talking to someone was that I think the idea of that what they needed to hear was actually the depth of themselves unraveled. Most of the time it's they're always in a sense of the conversation. Even myself, when I started getting into coaching and even in a sense I was coached by Derek at one point. I just started. I remember Derek, as we were talking, you were just asking me questions, helping me really unravel, unbox. In other words, unbox myself. Like wow, like why did I want to do this? What is it that made me, come to that point? And I agree with that, the idea of blockages. The blockages actually trapped us and actually suppresses us from actually being the best version of ourselves.
Right.
The idea of us wanting to grow, wanting to give to the world is always there. Right? I'm sure that naturally like if someone comes to us and asks, I just ask a topic example, and I will share this with my wife Rachel. She always comes to me. Oh, I got some issue. She'll tell me something, and it's the depth of my heart. I want to help her. And sometimes I would just like, oh, how about you do this, that? It's because I naturally just want to give my best. I want to give her a solution. I want to give her like, oh, how about doing this? How about that? Try to help her out. But I think a lot of cases, a lot of times for me, I capture myself like okay, like maybe I also as much want to give to my knowledge of knowing circumstances or thing. How about I have to help her to know herself, to ask her questions. And I think that's something that I do daily myself also, like, when I'm stuck and I'm uncertain, is that question of like, how do I know what is my deepest desires? Do I know what am I going for? And of course, that's where that eureka moment comes, is when I know why I'm doing certain things. I know myself. I know, like, what's my deepest cry as a person. My cry for acceptance, a cry for love, a cry to be heard. All of these cries are there. And I think from as I walk about and kind of like with in the area of doing coaching with people, I think that's something that we all want to be heard. All of us want to truly to be seen, truly to be known. And I agree. I remember Irene, when we were in New Zealand, for a while, Irene loves to go to like and sit next to the window where the light comes in, and wears the most brightest orange jacket, and then she goes like, and in the morning she goes like, "Good morning, everybody. Can you see me?" And I think that was something so beautiful. It was like that just the desire to share herself. The child had the joy, the good morning. Some of us are half asleep type of situation, But I think that's something that is all in all of us. And when we are known to people, when we are loved by people, we are accepted, we are heard by people, naturally we feel that we are giving the best of ourselves. And that's something for me also. Like, when I started doing the coaching area of coaching, I realized that, wow, I loved that idea myself. And then when I see my people I journey with coming alive, like, wow, like they see that them suddenly growing to the next level for them to grow. And I was like, wow, that's amazing. Seeing where they are today, I'm sure you all of us have our own stories, But I think one of the stories that really captured me was this guy where he was actually desiring so much to actually do something for himself in the area of work, And for a long time he was just a yes man, like whatever someone tells them to do, just, do this. Oh, okay, And then so later, after he wanted to share his experience, share his knowledge, a lot of people just had push him down, And so when we were doing coaching, I was talking and sharing, then he was saying, actually, Justin, thank you for listening to me and hearing my points of view. Not many people do that. And I think that captured me, like, isn't that our natural desires to be heard? And I think that's where he slowly learned the courage to share himself, to share who he is, share his ideas, and value himself. I think that's something that was so amazing for me, my own journey, as I shared. I think that's like, wow, that's so amazing, yeah. And so we now, let's just go to the next segment where we actually answer certain questions that each one of you actually has spoken, and I think the first one comes from a guy called Adam, and he asked this question: what happens to a person that struggles with the area of identity? How important is it for someone to know about themselves? Yeah, so that's the first question.
All right. When it is asked like this, how important is extremely fundamentally important, because this is our foundation of any relationship. When you're talking about relationship, it's not as like an exchange of services. That comes, but much later. The first thing that you exchange as human being is that you are exchanging relationship and friendship. How can we exchange knowing and reciprocating friendship when we have no idea about who we are? So one of the deepest or the first work that we are to do is to come to know our truer self and sit with that, that you are happy to be who you are, and then you can bring this joy to the people next to you. Well, this thing happened quite naturally when we were young. And if we are at a state that we feel that we are alienated from ourselves, it's because we have come to a very unnatural state. Something must have happened along the way in our childhood, in our teenage years. These are more fragile years of our lives, where we are much more vulnerable, that sometimes when adults say something that is very cruel to a child, it gets stuck in us, and it's not true about who we are, but then we will make believe that we were not good enough, that we were a nuisance in the society, that we will never amount to anything great. And if we took those ideas into ourselves, then we will become very scared to make ourselves known, because we think like, wow, that would be terrible if they would find out that I am like that. So to Adam, I would say, really come home to your true self, come home to one's true self, and then relating to people will become much, much more natural. And there are ways of doing this, of how to come back. One of the ways is, like what we're talking about here, is to talk about it. What are you going through? And as you are talking about it, you begin to realize that the deepest cry within you, the deepest connection within you is someone really, really incredible and someone beautiful, that you are a gift to the people around you.
Yeah, definitely. I think for me to answer that also, Adam, is that, you are amazing. And I think for you to know that, for you to click with that you have something to give, you have something, and your identity shapes who you are. And as we talk about the idea of identity, is that when we kind of know our strengths, know what we are good at, and know that we are good, then you actually naturally start giving out the goodness to people, And we always naturally have this saying, like, and I say, oh, I'm not good enough lah. The other person is better. How about you ask that person to do something for you? Whenever someone asks us something, and even the idea of like, that the biggest critic in our life is ourselves, And why is that? It's because we have been, I guess, in a circumstances where other people have put negativity on us, and so like we start believing like, oh, it's something like example, like for me when I was younger, because I was a bit slower in my studies. A lot of teachers say, you're very slow, you're not so bright as other people, not so clever, And I started believing that I won't amount to anything, I'm always defined by my weakness, like I'm not good enough because of my dyslexia or whatever. But after a while, when I started knowing what I'm good at, knowing my strengths, I start knowing and believing that I have something to offer, you know, and then I would then naturally start giving out to people. And so I think I would definitely agree with what Derek shared, you know, that in life we have to really know our identity. And when we know our identity, then naturally could we actually, you know, be the best version of ourselves, because then we can see, okay, this is what I can offer the world and I want to give my best. Yeah.
When you see yourself as a gift, naturally, this is from experience, you will start seeing people around you as gifts as well. So if you're giving gift, and so you will be seeing gift. But if you're seeing yourself in not the truest, that means that you're seeing yourself as rubbish. What you're going to give is also naturally going to be there. So I encourage you, Adam, you are a gift. Yeah, explore that, like how Justin say, explore the goodness in within you, and start giving. You find more and more freedom. And don't start when you are like, oh, I'm 100% sure. Start now. Start now. Start embracing that goodness in within you. That is great goodness, and very important. Know yourself. Once you know yourself, normally you know what your values are, and then you will know what to say yes to and what to say no to. Also gives you a firmer foundation in life.
All right, thank you. Okay, let's dive to the next question. The question is, what is a healthy, balanced perspective when it comes to know and to be known? So I guess that question is like, what is the balance of like to know myself and then to then allow people to know me, I guess. Yeah. Eric, would you like to take?
I mentioned it a little bit just now. Once you know yourself, and it is very natural that you will want to give of yourself. And giving of yourself is actually getting to know other people. It's very natural. We're social beings. We want to know and we want to be known in that sense. And I think not so much like balance, but it's more like a natural thing that will happen. It's like a progression. Once you know yourself, you want to give the best of yourself. And you probably not just in the area of like, okay, all my strength and everything. You would also want to be able to be vulnerable, like speaking truth, like what I did just now, just cried kind of thing. yeah, being vulnerable, being true, and being able to share your life with others. That is very natural. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah, I think I will agree with that point. Like, you know, the balance is just a idea in our heads. You know, that it by actually a natural thing that once I know, like I shared earlier, once I know myself, once I know that, okay, this is my giftings, this is my strength. I know that, you know, my worth is this. I want to share it with people. It's natural, you know. As I know myself, then I can good example. Let's just make it an example. I'm good at my hands, you know. Example, as someone struggling to, you know, do something like a DIY thing at home, you know, and I was, hey, come, let me help you. You know, that is a very small concept about that, where, you know, once I know who I am, it's natural for me to desire to let people know. Naturally for me to want to share the goodness of, for my abundance of my heart. You know, I want to give to people, and that's where we have to have that balance. In a sense, you know, is that it's not only to say, okay, like when you talk about balance, it's okay. You don't say, okay, you know, let me just know myself now, you know, like, okay, until like what Irene said, until like I am perfect, then I will start giving to people. The sad reality, no, there's no way you're ever going to be perfect. You know, it's in a sense like I cannot be 100%, but rather it's that you are perfect where you are now, and as you grow, you naturally want to give more. You start overflowing much more, and so the balance is perfection in now. Give where you are, give your strength, give everything of yourself, and people around you will start seeing that and say, wow, you know, and being blessed by just you being yourself. And as you grow in this journey, yeah.
Thanks, Justin. Thanks, Irene. I'm also sharing the question coming from a place where what if knowing myself only, and that becomes very selfish, it becomes very out of touch with realities around me. Definitely there is a fear, if I may use that word. There is a fear there that brings us to this place. What if this whole quest of coming to know myself becomes imbalanced in the way I live? That in itself, I'd say the fear is pointing something towards a lie that most probably we may have, that something in me is selfish, something in me is self-seeking, and I'm only looking for my own intention, my own gain, and I'm not thinking about the others. In a way, we've mentioned this, that is not the most natural part of who I am. So my invitation to anyone who's asking this question is to trust yourself that you are actually very good. You are actually very kind. You are created in love, and therefore you are created for love. In that natural process, when you come to know your beautiful self, you will only want to give beauty to the people around you. So it may mean that today, your way of connecting with someone is simply to know. And it can also be that at some point, your way of connecting with someone is to make yourself known. It's quite natural how it can happen, as long as we are very connected to this beauty, this gift of who I am. Then we are not allowing fear to guide us, like, oh, don't say too much, because then you'll come across as the selfish guy. Don't only listen, then you'll come across like you don't know anything. So if these are the voices that are guiding us, then we have not truly known ourselves yet. But when we truly know ourselves, we will also know when to start, when to stop. This whole flow of a conversation for someone who's going to start a conversation because they want to love, you will find this exchange happening very naturally. The one who is fearful and scared to be seen, scared to be noticed as, oh, what if I'm known as the one who is no good? That guideline, which is not your true self, but that guideline will mess up your whole conversation. So rather than saying, okay, in 90%, you should be listening, 10% is when you speak. Sometimes that's very true. In the work of a coach, this is what we do. But sometimes even in coaching, you will take on some part to help the person to understand a little bit more. And you might be talking a little bit more than 10%. It might be 30%. And the other person is doing much more listening than usual. It's okay as long as we are connected to ourselves as a gift.
I agree with that, Derek, because from experience, there are times like during a coaching call, it is actually essential to share part of our lives with them, to give them a perspective on what's really happening. And I got a lot of like, that's true. Yeah, that's an aha moment for them. Yeah, and it's the balance, like you talk about. Yeah, as a coach, most of the time we listen more than we speak, but there are times it is necessary to share a lot more, just to bless the other person with a great perspective that they would be creative to move forward in their own way.
Yeah, definitely. I think agree with both of you. Thank you so much. I think that's a perfect answer for that. That sometimes we just need to be nudged in a direction to see other perspective, rather than that shallow blinkers. Like looking forward by other people can kind of add value, and you can also add value to other people out there by your perspective also share. So I think we come to a close for this podcast. Thank you, Derek and Irene, so much for being part of this again and sharing your wisdom, sharing your whole perspective. I think that's something that we all want to, hear so much from. So I think it's also important for us to know that this is only a second episode, and all of you are going to be part of this 12th episode season. We are just in the starting of this, and you can be part of this again. Like Adam and Rachel earlier asked the question. You two people out there can ask the same questions. We'll be continuing posting up all our topics for the coming week, and you can ask the questions. You can join the kind of polling system, whatever we are doing out there, so that you can be part of, to hear and actually your voice to be asked. If you want to remain anonymous, you can always just message us personally. We won't say your name, but also in this upcoming month, we'll be talking so much about coaching, talking about also knowing yourself, knowing about a lot of identity questions that, as earlier Adam talked about. And all of these questions are going to be talked about as coaches, and part of this coach up. So I even want to invite all of you to like our social medias, to follow each one in the Instagram, Facebook, and all of this will be where each one of you can be part of our journey together in this coaching session. So I'm so excited to see where this goes. I'm excited to hear all of your voices, because I think your voices are so amazing, and we want to hear them as coaches, and we want to bless you and actually really be part of your journey too. So do just go for it. Just be bold, ask the questions, and we will be part of the answering team. So thank you, Ivy and Derek, again, both of you for being part of this. And I'll see you in the next session, and that's next podcast. And see all of you guys. Bye.
Bye.